We say la vie to the 2024 season with McLaren taking the constructors for the first time since 1998. It's lights out and away we go for episode 166 of the Eaton Asphalt podcast. Congratulations. You're the first winner between us two since becoming fans of the sport to actually come home with the trophy. How does it feel? Ian, this is like into Super Bowl, first time reporter. You're the main guy. How's it feel?
I'm going to Disneyland.
That's what I'm talking about. Yep.
Yeah. For a team that hadn't scored points in Canada in 10 years, had always been seemingly behind the eight ball. Fernando Alonso called us kind of the slowest team on the grid when he was with us. Lots of adversity. We get a kid from Britain where McLaren is, a beautiful little child who we've molded into this unbelievable, massive, what?
Huh? Sorry.
It feels good, man. Feels good, dude.
Yeah.
All kidding aside, Max Verstappen doing Max Verstappen things at the beginning of this race. When he clipped Oscar Piastri, I was like, oh, there it is.
This is my nightmare.
We are a Lando slip or a Lando engine failure away from losing this in the ultimate fashion. Like, we have been ahead for a while. Coming home with it definitely feels good. A lot of momentum going into the season. We got our drivers, we got our team. Nothing but high hopes to end this, to go into this next season. I will say the biggest kind of like nipping thing at my ankles right now is Lewis Hamilton joining Ferrari after seeing Lewis Hamilton's drive. We'll get into it in winners and losers, I'm sure, but good Lord, is that a scary combination that we have coming up here?
Yeah, we'll see. But like Ian said, let's get into this episode. So we have our hot lap recap, our fastest thoughts presented by pending sponsor. We're going to do that. I don't think I can keep saying TikTok anymore. So we're going to do a pending sponsor. Maybe we'll get one for next year. Our winners and losers, our final winners and losers, and our final race and gambling predictions recap. So starting straight away with our hot lap recap. We start on Saturday, where Alpine came to display their brand new toy, a little Christmas joke here. Jack Doohan, who proceeds to show early signs of a Temu purchase by coming in P20 in quals, while his teammate finished P6. Meanwhile, Charles Leclerc in his race for P2 in the drivers, P1 in the Constructors Championship, had a major setback by getting a 10th-place grid penalty for an engine component change. The FIA and F1 media, the British loving group they are, decided to really ensure Lando and the team take home the constructors by giving Charles food poisoning before the weekend and then getting his lap deleted, taking him from P1 and Q2 to P14. Perez, for the first time since summer break, made it into Q3. I'm not actually sure if that was the last time, but it feels like it's been at least since summer break since he's made into Q3. And then he finishes P10. So, I mean, I guess that's good for him, finishing P10 in quals. McLaren ends Saturday with a front row lockout, which would make it an absolute embarrassment if they didn't pull further away from Ferrari on Sunday. And to Sunday we go, where Lando finally learns how to drive going into turn one, but good guy Max wanted Sunday to be interesting and decided to take some of that bad juju with him. So decided to run into Oscar Piastri, putting him in the back of the grid. Superstar Charles Leclerc made it up 8 places in one lap, to finish on the podium from starting at P19, something only Max probably could do on the grid as well. No other drivers. But right behind him, Charles's future teammate Lewis Hamilton had a similar strong start, ending his year on a high note compared to the previous few races. While all this fun is happening behind the race leader, Lando had got a healthy early lead and maintained it for most of the race, giving McLaren the 2024 Constructors Championship. Really guess good things do happen to bad people.
I don't know about that. Thank you for our hot lap recap, final one of the season.
Yep. Hot lap recap, and let's move straight on to our fastest thoughts presented by man. All right. Fastest thought. I was taking a lot of time to think would be a nice recap to end the year and a nice fastest thoughts. My question to you, Ian, is we've been having a non-stop discussions probably for 2 years, but especially the last couple of years with that second seat at Red Bull. Who do you think would be the best, next up, and last for the seat going into next year?
Next up, Yuki Tsunoda got the spot to drive. I like Yuki. I think two episodes ago, I said Yuki has shown that he's good enough. I think since I've said that, Liam Lawson has wiped the floor with Yuki. And so little curse of the Eaton Asphalt podcast there. The runner up, I think from a logistical standpoint, you can't have Sergio back, but I think from a monetary standpoint, you might want Sergio Perez back. And so I'll give that. And then my last one, look, Danny Ricciardo popped into my Instagram algorithm. It seems like he's living his best life. Like he's on a little bit of an eat, pray, love kind of thing right now. What happens when you come back from an eat, pray, love thing? Oh, your life is way better. You're more clear, mentally focused, moisturized, in your lane. You know what I mean? Everything's set up for you to do well. So I'll say last place because it's unlikely, but get him back into the car. Get him back.
Great. I had similar thoughts on you. I actually went with Liam Lawson one, younger kid. Yuki, it depends on how he can kind of handle being a second seater and if the rumors are true of having a substantially worse car compared to Max, like everyone says a second driver at Red Bull does. Not sure if he has the mental fortitude to handle that. Liam Lawson, also a little bit of a fiery guy, but I think he probably understands. I feel like when he's around the best drivers, he kind of takes a step back. It's those other drivers that he thinks he's better than that he's going to be like, fuck you. So I would say Liam, then I would go Yuki, then I would go Danny, similar thing, not monetary, but on a, we're going to give you money, but we're going to get 6 sponsors following Danny, which would probably make up a little bit of that. And then I'm going to go dead last Sergio, which again, depends on the day I refresh the news is whether he's actually going to be in the seat or he's not. If you ask his father, we got to get him on the podcast. That guy's an electric factory. Not politically correct in the least. Just keeps calling people gay.
Yeah. Not cool.
No.
Not cool of a thing to do, right? It's not a word we say anymore. Just having it we need to unlock the next level of whatever this is where parents start kind of chipping into this game and give Jos Verstappen an Instagram and kind of get him addicted to it. Because the comments that are going to come out of him are going to be even better. Imagine an Instagram fight between Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen's parents going on. Give me that. Inject that into my veins.
Yeah. So I just saw recently, kind of aside this, how you brought this up, bringing in parents. There is a Polish MMA league that if the fighter weighs in overweight, weighs over, that he has to fight the fighter and his dad. So we got to think of something where we can start bringing in fathers into it. Maybe it's a negative thing where it's hey, Sergio, a negative, you bring your dad in, he actually is on the mic. Sorry, Christian Horner can't be on it for the race. Or he's your race engineer. Something like that where it's oh God, yeah, this is not okay.
I like the 2-seater Formula One car.
Oh, yeah.
His dad is in the back,
pod, maybe.
And Sergio can only talk to his dad. His dad talks to Red Bull Garage.
Yeah. He's the telephone guy. Back. Yeah.
Middleman.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So yeah, let's start thinking of ways to maybe punish when parents kind of start going a little crazy out there. I think this would be a great rule. FIA, you have our number.
You have our number, I think. Speaking of parents, congratulations to Max Verstappen taking a book out of Marco's book and having a little baby.
Yeah, he goes from stepfather to father.
Yeah, that's a big promotion.
Yeah, that is big. Now he's stepfather and father. Yeah. 2-time father championship.
Yeah.
Dad just keeps winning. It's crazy.
I hope nothing but the best things for this child who is sure to come up against an absolute wall of adversity, having the last name Verstappen and having, Jos or Max be a father figure to them.
Well, and then you got to throw in Piquet too. As a grandpa, the grandpas are pretty wild in this family. I don't know. Like they gotta maybe set some boundaries, being like, you guys can only hang out with our kid when we're around. I'm sorry, but history shows itself. You don't have the responsibility to be left alone with a little kid.
Like holiday season coming up where they're like, hey, should we go to your parents or my parents? I bet they're both like, why don't we stay in this year? Why don't we just
Yeah, let's like make a tradition where you guys aren't around anymore, you know? All right, that does it for our fastest thoughts. Kind of a long. There's a long thought there.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our winners and losers presented by Ian. But before we get that, we have our final ad, our presenter. This part of the podcast is brought to you by Hallmark. Hallmark has brought people together sometimes when they aren't actually next to each other for hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of years. Our words bring joy, tear, and love to the person sending the card, to the person receiving it. Many people will be picking up a Hallmark card this season to wish people a Merry Christmas or a Hanukkah or Kwanzaa. But it's also the time of year where coworkers decide to make a move with the upcoming year looming. For those special moments, Hallmark makes special cards that really drive home the true meaning of that relationship. A card from Toto Wolff to the Mercedes team to Sir Lewis Hamilton would just say, thank you, thank you, thank you 7 times with an 8th thank you in parentheses. Hallmark would even make a gag card for like the Aston Martin team to Lance Stroll saying, pack your bags, you're grounded from racing ever again, love your father. Or to Esteban Ocon with the note, we would have loved our time together and had a lot of nice things to say, but had to cut it short. Sorry. Lastly, the Red Bull team to Sergio Perez with the simple, we appreciate all you've done. We would like to give you cash, but as you're well aware, we desperately need it, which is why we've kept you along all these years. When it's time to send someone special the messages they've needed to hear, use Hallmark.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Hallmark.
Can't believe you
Definitely
got
didn't
Hallmark.
say that. Yeah, I was kind of slurring. Felt like a little drunk, but it's fine. Hallmark understands because we're all sad. All right, going on to our winners and losers. Ian.
Yeah, for my first winner, I know I'm trying to be a gracious winner here, since McLaren did win the championship here, and say, like, all kidding aside, I said it earlier on, but Lewis Hamilton does still have it. Like going from P16 to P4, like just missing out on a podium when you're starting like way outside of the points. I think like I feel like you and I have said, like, there's not a great, there have been some races where it's just like, you're not seeing the absolute monster consistency that you always see from this guy. But he does still have the spark where he can like be good. I think it's good to have like a clean slate, like new team, kind of like a pretty historic year that we have coming up. And that it just like got me excited for that year to see like, okay, a guy that's in this good a shape, in that well of a known brand, and like that car, like, you know, say what you want about like Ferrari, the like strategy and the state of their car, but like it seems like Ferrari's on the up and up, especially in the last half of the season, and now they're getting kind of the ultimate cheat code with Lewis Hamilton in that seat.
Great point. I have 2 questions. One serious, one maybe not as serious. The first one, as a competitor of Ferrari, as a fan of a competitor of Ferrari, would you be more worried about the pairing of Leclerc and Sainz going into 2025 or Leclerc and Hamilton?
Leclerc Hamilton, for sure.
Okay. It's good to know. Yeah, I like, obviously, great way to end the season. I think the last 3 or 4 races beforehand, he was super down in the dumps. Like he was really bumming out and it was just like, I hope I still have it. So it was great to see that. Maybe that kind of feeds into the next year, completely different car. I don't know if it'll take him time to kind of adjust from being from a team for 9 years. But yeah, I'm very interested to see how this works. I'm not sold if this will be a better team, like a better team combo than it would be with Charles and Carlos.
Okay. All right.
The rule book's still out. I don't know. I'm hoping I'm wrong, or not wrong, but I'm hoping you're right.
Yeah, right on.
My second question, though, so Lewis was offered to be the first person since Enzo Ferrari left to utilize his house, right? Like this is a big story. Did you see that?
Yep, saw that.
Do you think that Enzo Ferrari would be happy about that?
Um, I never met Enzo.
Yeah.
Like never had like
Yeah.
anything more than a professional relationship with Enzo, I guess you could
Sure.
say, doing the pod. But yeah, I would say probably it's contingent upon how the season goes.
Mm,
I think he would even be like, I'll let you know if I'm happy at the end of the season.
yeah. If like you gave him a picture and was like, this is the guy that's staying at your house, he'd be like,
Oh, you
I don't know. When did he pass? What
I
time of, I don't know.
what time of social progress did he?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was curious. I don't know if like they're like, hey, this is a huge honor. Obviously, he deserves it. If anyone's going to get that, but you throw it back in history. I don't know if this is like what they would consider an honor. You know,
Okay.
just that was my lighthearted question. I don't know. I don't even know if he's accepted. He's going to go in that house.
That's a fair point, I
Fair
guess.
point. Just spitballing out here. But okay, that's for mine.
All right. We'll transition out of that. My winner is I do want to tip my hat to Lando Norris, a lap one, leading after lap one from pole position.
That's huge.
Imagine if he didn't do that and he had to go the whole off season being like, I'm the lap one loser guy. Like I'm the guy who loses lap one. Like
Yeah,
that.
it is also like, what if Max doesn't go and knock Piastri, and Piastri had like a nice turn out of turn one and passed him too? Lando might be thanking him, honestly. He's like, hey, like that it took like the two drivers right near me towards the top away from like potentially me losing this after one lap. That was huge.
Even worse would be if Lando lost the position to P4 on the
Mm-hmm.
grid
Yeah.
after that first one. Like that would have been a killer. But yeah,
Yeah.
you got to, I mean, for as much as we've talked poorly about his performance in lap one, I think it does merit, especially when all the pressure's on too. Like this is the race where you can't do that. Like of all races, like this is the race where you cannot let that happen. And he didn't. So hats off our boy Lando, Lord and Savior.
All right. Anyone else?
Best to ever do it,
Oh,
maybe.
oh, okay.
Maybe coming.
Uh,
My those are my two winners. Any other loser? Any other winners?
I'm going to take like a positive slant. I kind of talked about this at the beginning, but Charles Leclerc, like you talked about highly about Lewis, moving from 16 to 4, going 19 to 3, fantastic, passing 8 drivers in one lap. It was like 6 in like the first turn, basically. It was very impressive for him to be battling again food poisoning, 10 place grid penalty, and then having that lap time deleted, starting him from P14 in quals, pushing him back to P19, all that to get then to a podium finish was pretty incredible. And you always wonder if he was in the front row grid, top 3 or 4. With the way he was driving, I don't know. Like maybe it would have been a bit more of a competition for Lando. Like Lando had that 4 to 5 second gap between Carlos, like for most of the race, and I wonder if Charles would have made that a little bit more competitive. It's just one of those things that we'll never know, obviously, but would have been cool to see.
I mean, like what we were robbed of with Kevin Magnussen hitting the bollard into Lewis Hamilton's car and then Charles getting the penalty was like, imagine the excitement of the Tifosi if you had your two guys fighting for P1 at the beginning. Like if they both started like top 5, top 6, and they like just took over the race and they were fighting back and forth, like that would get anybody outside the Tifosi excited.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
I think that was the only other winners I had. Yeah.
Right on. As far as losers, you mentioned it early, Jack Doohan. I feel like the flip side of what you and I had about like, hey, like my guy got lap one, like was leading at the end of lap one, like won the race in the most important race of the season. Your guy just being, going from P19 to the podium. Lewis like doing well. Alpine has the exact opposite, where it's like 2-3 races ago they had a double podium out of nowhere, like this dynamite combination. And now one of their drivers was in the third row and one of their drivers was in the very back. Jack Doohan just like didn't seem to impress at all. Long off season for him to work, but like I just think if you're going into the season, a McLaren or Ferrari fan, you're on the sunny side of the bus, that meme. And if you're an Alpine fan, you're looking up at the wall where it's dark.
Yeah, this is like the epitome of like not making rash decisions during the year, because like
Yeah.
at that time where there was that fizzling out between Ocon and Gasly and everything was kind of looking, they were starting to improve a little bit, show a little bit of signs of life, but they were like, hey, still not really working. Sorry, Esteban, you're gone. If they say, hey, there's no rush for this, and we wait until the end of the year, or towards the end of the year, I think they probably keep him in the seat.
Yeah,
I mean,
probably.
Jack's obviously a young guy, so it's like, obviously one race is not going to be his first race is not going to be like this is how it's going to be. But to see how well Esteban and Gasly did these past, the last 5, 6 races of the season, been like, hey, this is very exciting to go into. Like, we are improving, drivers are looking great, cars looking better, we're improving. Yeah, so it's going to be a bit of a learning curve, I guess, for that second seat for a while. Like, they're not going to be coming out of the gates, both drivers probably, guns blazing.
Yeah, I think you're right. Another guy that I felt bad for, that I felt like was a loser from this weekend, is Valtteri Bottas. No points all season, puncture in the last race of the season. He seems like a good sport, but like tough. Finishing
Yeah.
23rd in a championship with 20 drivers, or like a race with, a sport with 20 drivers, that has to be tough. And it just seemed like, kind of like, when you're like, kind of like drunk at a party or something like that, and you're like, I probably should go home. And then you like trip or fall or like say something really stupid. And you're like, okay, now I definitely need to go home. This
Mm.
was that kind of like final straw where it was like, okay, like it's time now. It's
Yeah.
time. Let's go enjoy your millions and be in Sweden or wherever you want to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Keep doing your other weird sports that you love. Triathlon guy. Yeah. I mean, I think his comments recently said it best, where it was like, I made a mistake going to Sauber. Yeah. Like that epitomizes probably, like, I don't know what other options he had, or like, but yeah, like that definitely was a fail for Sauber. For Bottas, it was a fail for Guan Yu Zhou. Like, I think that it's good that they're kind of taking a new look, like completely changing that team up, because I think they need a big refresh.
Yeah. Well, another guy who might need a refresh at the end of the season is George Russell. Not like a bad race from George Russell. What did he start? Like P4, ended P4. But when you have two things, when you're at like, he was like lap 20 and he had Charles Leclerc in his rearview mirror, he must have been like, hey, got like, I would wish I would have listened to that radio being like, is that Charles? Like, is that scarlet red I see in my rear view? So that was one thing. And then I saw a lot of people saying like, talk up Mercedes all you want, but at the end of the day, the driver that they're bringing back is somebody who started P4 and lost to his teammate by a second, who started P16. And I think there's merit to that. I think like they're keeping the worst of the two, even though like that doesn't, it's not going to translate from like that from a point standpoint. But yeah, I like it's just, I bet George is ready for the offseason more than most people, definitely more than the other Mercedes driver.
Yeah, and like even just talking, like we talked about this a bunch last week, the off the track issues too, I think has put him in a microscope, because I'm seeing so many things of people analyzing his comments about the Max situation. They're like, he's lying here, he's lying here, he's lying here. Like, I think he's been put on, like, he used to be good guy George, happy, like funny guy. And now I think it's going to be like people are going to start taking everything he says like with a grain of salt. And so I think he's got the on track things to work on, but the off track things now is like something that has just come out of the woodworks, that he seems like a guy that really cares about his image, and for him to be getting shit on now is probably something that is quite frustrating for him.
Yeah, totally agree. That's my winners and losers.
All right, I think I mean, Red Bull, that was just not a great ending race. Perez getting DNF, like, finally wasn't his fault though. Like, just got spun out, had some damage,
Yep.
kind of got screwed from the beginning. But that Max getting a 10-second penalty for his actions, him saying it's crazy that he got that penalty, also crazy. So yeah, just not a great final race for the Red Bull team.
Like I'm a fan of Max Verstappen. Like I like that guy. I like his driving. He's out, he's crazy good driver. it is wildly frustrating to be on the side of someone who like on the side of the team that he like messes up the race for. Because especially like when something was so important as this race for McLaren, like making sure that no mistakes happen, like, no engine failure, nothing stupid, like just finish the race. Getting spun out, it was just like, especially my biggest pet peeve. I know when you're in the moment, like emotions are high. There's a bunch of adrenaline coursing through your veins, but being like I was ahead there, like I was ahead at the impact. It's like your front right tire hit Oscar's rear left. What makes you think that you were like ahead there? So just wild. Yeah, I need an off-season break from Max Verstappen.
Yeah, I agree. And like I started seeing so many things and people going down the rabbit hole of being like, these top drivers find it impossible that they did anything wrong. You saw so many things about Michael Schumacher where, he would cause a wreck and he was like, I didn't do anything. This is not like, and they went down the list of like all these, like Alan Prost, all these great drivers of doing the same thing, being hard headed. And they're like, one driver that really didn't do this, that didn't like overdrive, like get way too dangerous, cause wrecks because that they weren't going to like give up or like they weren't going to give a lead or they needed this place was Lewis Hamilton. It's like the one driver that really didn't do that. So I think he just kind of falls in that mold of the other greats that just refuse to be wrong and refuse to like not be dangerous when they probably should take a step back sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know. It was so frustrating and it made me like when the momentum's like that in my head, I'm like, oh, Ferrari just beat us. Ferrari's going to win the Constructors' Championship. Anyway, on to bigger and better things. Let's talk about the last time that we will talk about for this season, our race predictions and our gambling. We've reached the end. Let's go race prediction first. We reached the end of our race predictions. What a poetic way. Me going up 1 point on our race predictions contest at the end of the season. Marco with predicting beautifully that Valtteri Bottas wouldn't finish to make it 15-15. Virtual handshake. Well done. Season well done. That was fun. I was thinking about this. So we both ended up 15 predictions right. We have 6 predictions every race. Mm-hmm. And so it's a 1 in 6 chance that one of us gets this right. We beat the season as a team, 24 races, 30 points, 30 predictions right overall. You can't be mad at that.
Yeah, no, I think that's, I saw you come in and started to do break down the math there. Didn't like you doing that because you do 6 times 23,
That's not what I'm
15 for that number. Don't like to do that. Yeah. So like I like the positive approach of combined as a team, we are better over a correct prediction a race. So
right. Exactly. And let's keep going on the positive vibe side of things with gambling. I told you I would get hot. I've gotten hot. If only the race were another 24 races, I probably would have gotten back to even. But going into this race, I was 22-42 on my race predictions, on my gambling. I did get 2 right this weekend with Lando winner plus 250 and Ferrari to both finish top 6 for 2 units at minus 275. So ending the season just a hair under 18 units down. Better than 18 units down. So it's kind of where I wanted to be. I think that's where I ended the season. It's kind of where I had my eye kind of zoned in. So mission accomplished as far as I'm.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, you did end the season last couple of races where you were killing it. So yeah, good for you. Good on you. I ended not well. I lost all 3 of my bets. So I went from 8.42 units minus 1.5 units, which is almost 7 units. Almost 6.9892-ish units.
Yeah. So pretty good. You're at 7 units. We'll give you 7 units.
Yeah, we'll bump up. So 7 units. If you rode with me the entire time, $20, just won $140.
You're welcome. And you can make that payable to Eaton Asphalt on Venmo.
We did a shared savings that we do. We get 30% of those net profits. You're welcome.
Yes. And if I lost you money with my almost 18 units down,
Yes.
That's what gambling is. You pay for fun.
The house, us, always win.
Yeah, exactly. All right, buddy. Well, that's our last episode for the 2024 season. It was a wonderful ride. McLaren on top, Ferrari nipping at our heels this upcoming season. I think we're in a good spot for next year.
Yeah, we're both in like the top 3 teams, which you can't ask for much more than that. So.
Yeah, especially at the beginning of the season, especially last season. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we're fine. We're doing good. I'll take it.
All right. We have some fun stuff planned for off season. Welcome our new interns, by the way. We'll talk about that, but fun stuff planned for the off season. And so anticipate that. But until the off season episodes come out, we appreciate everybody listening. See ya, assholes.
See ya, assholes.
Hey, thought you could leave without saying goodbye.
I used to say I live my life a quarter mile at a time. And I think that's why we were brothers. Because you did too.